Hello everyone and welcome back to Southern Wealth. I hope you guys are doing very well. If you do enjoy the content, you already know, drop that like and subscribe. It greatly helps the channel, so thank you very much for your support. So today I'll try to structure this video a little bit better, just for you to have an idea, right? A little bit of a peek behind the scenes, if you will. What I do literally is I take either my phone or my laptop upstairs, right? So I work full time. Then I come home and it's family time. And then I have about 40 minutes for YouTube or something like that. That includes uploading the video, by the way. And so basically, I take the phone and I talk about the subjects that I believe are relevant for the day. So there's no like script, there's no, step by step, there's no notes, there's no take one, take two. It is what there's no editing. What you get is pure, raw, unedited content, and sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse. But I do believe we built here a very good channel. By the way, I checked the average like to dislike ratio of the channel, and it stands at 98%. That's completely crazy, and I thank you all, for being so supportive of this channel. Really appreciate it. So today I'll try to speak a little bit on the political side, which will probably get my video shadow banned, but that's fine. Then a little bit on the economic data that came out, a little bit on the general market, and the final piece at the end for crypto. So in terms of the political sphere, Polymarket has shown Trump really now taking off, the orange man taking off compared to her opponent. It's now at 54, 55%. I place more confidence in that rather than these polls, because these polls could have, a cat versus the orange man, and they would pose that the cat was, pulling ahead. So there's no point in looking at these polls, to be perfectly honest. I think Polymarket, because people put actually money behind what they believe, I think is actually more accurate than other things. I think there were a few mistakes that caused this distance to increase. Number one was the terrible MSNBC and 60 Minutes interviews. I think they were completely, terrible. And mind yourself that these are edited. So what you're seeing over there is the best they could get. It's really, there's nothing better that they can possibly take. Then, of course, you have Elon Musk speaking at the rally, and I think he made a very good point about this is really the last election. And what it means is, it's if you look at the number of illegals that enter the country. So let's pull it back a little bit. I think the Democrats have a very smart political machine. So what they do is they import as many millions of people as possible. They move them into the swing states. And by the way, you can check the government data, which is basically put out by the Democrats, in which the percentage of illegals in swing states has triple-digit increases, some cases as high as 700% increase over 3 years. And then the idea is to do a fast-track citizenship status in which, after a while, 5 years or so, they are now legalized voters. Since these swing states sometimes go super narrow, if you add 2-3 million new voters, all of a sudden they stop being swing states, and you still have elections, but for all purposes you have a one-party rule. So that's the plan: import as many people, put them in the swing states, legalize them as soon as possible, have them vote in the swing states. Obviously, they vote overwhelmingly Democrats, which means you enter a one-party rule. A little bit like California with the 1986 amnesty that happened. So I think that speech and that message actually are starting to resonate with people, because most likely people were not aware of this. And number three, I think, was the handling of the storm, of the hurricanes, right? It's very hard to explain to Americans, and I do. And look, I don't live in America. I don't pay taxes in America. It's not my problem, let's say. But I put myself in those people's positions, which is okay. So you have hundreds of billions to give to Ukraine. You have billions and billions to give to Israel, and now you already shipped, I don't know, 2 billion to Lebanon or whatever. And the best you can do is $750 per household. Like, if I was an American that just got everything destroyed, I would look at this and say, okay, so I pay massive amounts of tax. We spent trillions of dollars in these endless wars. And now that the worst storm in the last 100 years happened, and there's no money for me. However, you have, illegals living for free in hotels in New York. You see the point, right? It's very hard to explain to Americans this situation. And I don't blame them. I mean, at all, to be honest. In Florida and I think in North Carolina, right, if I'm not mistaken. So it's very hard for them to look at this, and they don't understand how are these two things possible at the same time. And I think those things are contributing for this separation amongst both of them. Now, looking at the economy side, inflation came out hotter than expected, 2.4%, 3.3 core, and also unemployment ticked up. And this comes on the back of stronger jobs report also on Friday. So basically, all of these things are negative in the sense that, okay, it's less likely that the Fed will cut rates. To me, this is completely irrelevant because I think the Fed will need to cut rates in any case because of the mathematical problem that we discussed at length here in the channel. So the Fed started raising rates in 2022, and they finished, I think, by early 2024 or late 2023, right? In 2024, interest expense is already the third largest item in the budget. So it's already bigger than the military. The more debt gets refinanced at these levels, the more the interest expense will be. And because the majority of the debt matures within the next 3.5-4 years, that means that by 2028 or something, about 65-70% of all the tax revenue in the US, and when I say all, I'm talking wealth tax, property tax, income tax, corporate tax, inheritance tax, global sales tax, which is the VAT in Europe, all of them, 70% will go to pay interest on the debt. No, that cannot be. Which means the Fed will cut rates regardless of who's in power and regardless of what the number in inflation says or the job market says, right? Look at what they've done. The job reports are one thing, right? Then they revised down 818,000 jobs. Oh, actually, these 818,000 jobs, yeah, we were lying. They never happened. Or they can do, coffee was extremely high, right? So let's take it out of the CPI calculation. So they eventually, when they really need to cut rates, they will say, they will either just, in my opinion, this is purely my opinion, right? They will either make some of these adjustments, right? When the Chinese do it, we call it cooking the books. When the US does it, we call it adjusting for seasonality. And either they do that or they say, hey guys, we ran our models, we updated them for the new reality of the gig economy and the technology developments and the innovation. And actually we got to the conclusion that 3.5% inflation or 4% inflation is actually the way to go. And 2% inflation was for the old economy and no longer makes sense, right? They just need to say this and they say, poof, there's no more inflation problem. In any case, and this is an important shift to the markets, as you guys know, we pay attention to the bond market here, not because we are investing in the bond market or I'm not investing in the bond market, but because the bond market dictates all the other markets. There's no scenario, in my humble opinion, in which crypto and stocks are exploding and the bonds are collapsing. I don't see any way that will ever happen. And the truth is, every time the bond market becomes unstable, all of a sudden the risk assets start to sell off. We just touched very important levels in the TLT ETF, which was around 93.70, because that is both the 200-day moving average and the 50-week moving average as well. Now that should be very strong support. There's a good chance that we have seen the bottom for the TLT on this correction. Don't forget, we went from 100 to 93 point something. That's almost a 7% correction, or a 7% correction in bonds, and particularly it was done in, let's say, maybe 3 weeks or so. That is a lot for the bond market. That's not what you want to see, because it creates structurally instability in the markets. Now you can have a time period in which risk assets keep on going higher, but less likely. Okay. And the market becomes much more dangerous, let's say, for kind of violent short-term corrections. The S&P and Dow Jones hit new all-time highs yesterday. Nasdaq is pretty close. The Nasdaq 100, sorry, is the typical one that I look at, and the Nasdaq, the normal Nasdaq as well. And Russell trails. Unfortunately, as I've mentioned before, the Russell represents the real economy. The companies that you see in the S&P, Dow Jones, and Nasdaq can refinance in the long term, and they can refinance at pretty much attractive rates, because the short-term rates are much higher, in which Russell is filled with garbage zombie companies that can only access financing in the short term. Pretty much they cannot thrive until rates come down. That's why every time we have priced in of rate cuts, the Russell outperforms everything else. And when it's the other way around, meaning events like today, where it makes less likely that the Fed will cut rates, then all of a sudden the Russell also underperforms, right? Same thing. If you want, guys, I'm not sure if I should do this, because last time I've done this was in the Japanese debacle. I basically gave you the levels that I thought the major indices would bounce back. I remember it was 2000 for the Russell. We went to 1994. I said 38,500 for the Dow Jones. We went to 38,499, which was pretty close. I think the S&P I was off by about $20, and the Nasdaq I was off by about $35 or so. So shall I give you what could be levels on the downside? Maybe for the next video. You guys let me know in the comments. What else? Yeah, oil has had that spike. People are now starting to say oil $100 again, $90 again. I think there's a good chance we go back to the 78 to 82 level, but we shouldn't move much more from that, in my view. There's a lot of pressure on top, and I don't think we should go much higher than that. Now going into crypto. So this is actually quite funny, because a few weeks ago, let's start with Bitcoin, right? So if you guys want to know, Bitcoin is still around the 50-week moving average. The Ethereum is also around the 200-day moving average. And basically, if we go down from here on Bitcoin, there's very strong support at around 56,700. No, sorry guys, what am I saying? We touched the 50-day moving average, and the 50-week moving average is around 56,700 something. There's a chance we go close to there. There's also a chance that we don't. In any case, if we do see 59 getting broken, there's a good chance that we may go to 56, and that may be the last time that we will see Bitcoin below 60. We'll see. There's actually a bit of FUD going around, and once again, people don't understand that these things work the other way around. So Dow Jones, what am I saying? The Department of Justice has approved the sale of $4.4 billion in Bitcoin, the Silk Road, the seized coins by the US government. And this is actually positive in the sense that this is the confirmation there are a lot of people in the US in which crypto is their single issue vote, single issue, thing that they really care about, okay? And some of them may have been duped that somehow the Democrats would be also friendly towards crypto. Now you just got the confirmation that they aren't. So there's a lot of, if there was any doubt. So there are a lot of single issue voters that for them, they may hate the orange man. They may think he's terrible. But because they have a vested interest in crypto and they just saw that as soon as he spoke in the Bitcoin conference, they moved coins to a wallet and now they're going to execute the biggest sale. This gives confirmation to all of them, hey, orange man is good for your bags. The other ones are not. So if in case there was any kind of doubt that you may have in your mind, that doubt has now disappeared, and it should be very clear to you who's friendly towards crypto and who's not. Number two, if they sell the coins now, they cannot harm the price later. And if Orange Man gets in office, he will be forced to buy crypto for certain targets. In the past, they could have just moved coins from one side to the other. But if the US decides to sell all of it, then one of two things. Either he needs to buy them at higher prices, good, or he has nothing to sell. It's already sold. If it's already sold, when the price goes up, it cannot harm the price anymore. It's the same thing with Mt. Gox. When Mt. Gox gets done, they cannot harm the price again. When the Germans sold all their Bitcoin, they cannot harm the price again. They've just done it. See the point? Now, one thing that is important to say as well is that if you look at previous cycles, the altcoins tend to peak 12 months after the halving. So that would be April 2025. Now, in the last cycle, some altcoins, not all of them, peaked in May 2021 and then had another top in November 2021. Not all of them did that. A big part of them did the top in May 2021, and that was it. And one thing that we should be careful is that this has been the front-running cycle, right? We front-run the halving, we front-run the all-time high, we front-run the sell-off, we front-run the good month of October, right? We front-run all of that. So that means that there's a chance that if that theory of the peak for certain altcoins being 12 months after the halving, there's a certain probability that March, because the halving was 19th of April, there's a certain chance that March will actually be the top for a large number of altcoins. If not, it may be April. But the point is, around that mark, March to April, may be the peak for a lot of altcoins. Does that mean that I'm going to sell everything that I have? No, probably not. But will I be de-risking some coins? Most likely, yes. But that is 6 months into the future. It's too far away in crypto, particularly at this stage of the cycle. It's really, really hard to be talking about this. I also saw a video from Crypto Banter talking about cults. This is great. One of the things that I've done when I revealed my retirement coins back in 2023, when the SEC was targeting those coins, I said, you want religious cults. And the more rabid cults you have, the best. People used to call it cults as a degrading term. So no, you're getting it wrong. You need a very strong cult because you need them to pull you out of 90-95% corrections. And you need a very strong cult to basically be convinced enough not to sell so they can actually function as, your exit liquidity in the future. Now, I know that this sounds a bit selfish to say, but it's true. If you don't have a strong cult, that means you have a lot of sellers when you are close to the top, which means that it may be difficult for you to also sell, right? Don't forget, I'm not really keen in round-tripping any bags. So for that, you need really, really true believers. Now, there are going to be people that are so well positioned, like even for me, right? I've already said this. I will never get out of the entire ecosystem. I will probably leave 15 to 20% when I'm convinced that the top is approaching, and I will let it ride. But of course, I'm not going to keep 100% of it, because that would be irresponsible on my part. I think everyone understands what I'm trying to say. Now, finally, I would like to thank Crypto7. He shout out my channel in his YouTube channel. Actually, no, thank you very much. You really didn't need to do it. I didn't invest in the coin with the expectation of anything else. As you know, probably, you know that I do this for a hobby. I do this because I like, but I did really appreciate the nice words, and I do see a lot of subscribers coming, so I really appreciate for that support. And once again, I mean, I don't know if 7G will go well. I hope so. It convinced me enough to deploy a lottery ticket. The reason why I have it in separate wallets, by the way, it's not a sign of disrespect or anything. One of the things that I say is I always have my main coins in a separate wallet that doesn't touch anything that is not 100% zero chance of having a problem. Okay. And then lottery tickets, because I don't have time to dig all the information and to research everything and to analyze everything. I put it in separate wallets because if something goes wrong, it doesn't touch anything. And I think sometimes in crypto we talk a lot about price appreciation and potential upside and all of this, and we forget about security. Can you imagine if you actually hold coins that do a 500x, but you get everything destroyed because of a security problem? I think that's even worse than selling too early or buying too late or anything, in my view. So that's why I also mentioned it. So I really wish the best of luck to you. I wish that the project goes very well. Of course, the better the project go, the better I will also do. And good luck with the last of the pre-sale, and I will try to tune in to some of your live streams. I'm actually thinking about doing a live stream. It's been a few months that I've done one. So you guys let me know in the comment section if you'd be interested in doing such a live. Then finally, we have a lot of red again. We have a lot of correction. I saw thousands of people complaining that the coins moved too fast and they had no time to buy. You see, but now it's hard to buy, right? Because now it's deep red. That's the key, right? That's the problem. Everyone fantasizes about buying the red and buying the, when it's very hard, but then they cannot do it. They want to buy the green. They want to buy when it feels good. They want to buy, when they have confirmation upon confirmation upon confirmation. But the key is to buy when it's really, really troublesome to do, when it's very hard to position, when everybody's telling you that all these coins are going to zero and it's a scam. Good news is I'm also starting to see now people talking about crashes and Bitcoin to 40K again and all of this kind of stuff. That is great. That's what we need. We cannot go up. If everybody gets bullish, we cannot go up. It's just funny, and I will finish on this, right? So last week, everyone was talking about, about 2 weeks ago, everyone was talking about, oh my God, we need Bitcoin above 60. We need Bitcoin above 60. 60 is the dream. 60 is the great thing. And now this week, everyone was complaining because we went from 64.5 to 60. So all of a sudden, in the span of 2 weeks, 60 became the yes, being above it or being close to it is so great, into 60K is bearish. This is the world of crypto. This is a perfect example, because sometimes people ask me concrete examples about some abstract concepts that I say, this is the perfect one you get. In the span of 3 weeks, 60K went from being extremely bullish to very bearish and people getting despaired and calling for the end of the bull market once again. Are you surprised? If you follow this channel, you're not. If you don't, you probably are trading back and forth, listening to some amazing people that somehow are such genius in trading, but they need your $200 a month for their trading courses. And with that, thank you very much for your support. Don't forget, drop that like and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one. And let me know in the comment section if you'd like a live stream. And if you'd like also me to post some of those levels on the downside in case we decide to retest a few things in the stock market. And with that, thank you very much, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.